In the last class, we have seen an interesting prose, Sir Isaac Newton, the ingenious scientist, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Before we start the lesson, let's have a short recap of the lesson. Summary: Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day in the year 1642 in England. His grandmother took care of him because his father was dead, and his mother got married again to a clergyman. In his early years, he made many interesting articles like tools, saws, etc. He was appreciated by the neighbors. He had not mechanical skills but also a taste for maths. Isaac paid more attention to the manufacture of clocks, which would operate by the dropping of water. He also made a sundial. Now, let's see the remaining part of the lesson. Let me read the first paragraph and later I will give you the explanation. Isaac possessed a wonderful faculty of acquiring knowledge by the simplest means. For instance, what method do you suppose he took to find out the strength of the wind? He jumped against the wind, and by the strength of his jump, he could calculate the force of a gentle breeze, a brisk gale, or a tempest. Thus, even in his boyish sports, he was continually searching out the secrets of philosophy. Here, acquiring means getting knowledge or skill. For instance means, for example, brisk means very active, gale means very strong wind, tempest means violent windy storm. In other words, tempest means a severe storm. Philosophy means the study of theories about life, knowledge, belief, etc. Isaac had a great inbuilt mental power for getting knowledge from simple things. For example, do you know what method he adopted to find out the strength of the wind? He simply jumped against the wind. With the length of his jump, he calculated the force of the wind. He was able to differentiate between a gentle breeze, a very strong wind, and a violent windy storm. Thus, he used simple techniques like his everyday sports in searching for answers of great theories. He jumped against the wind to calculate its force. Let me read the next paragraph. Not far from his grandmother's residence, there was a windmill which operated on a new plan. Isaac was in the habit of going there frequently and would spend hours in examining its various parts. While the mill was at rest, he pried into its internal machinery. When its broad sails were set in motion by the wind, he watched the process by which the millstones were made to revolve and crush the grain that was put into the hopper. After gaining a thorough knowledge of its construction, he was observed to be unusually busy with his tools. Here, pried means investigate, hoppers means funnel-shaped pins for feeding grains into mills, residence means living place, frequently means very often, revolve means go around, thorough means complete. Let me explain this paragraph. There was a windmill near Isaac's house which operated on a new mechanism. Isaac had the habit of going there often, and he spent a long time studying the various parts. When the windmill was not operated, he meddled with its internal machine parts. When the sails of the mill were set going by the wind, he saw the process by which the attached stones started spinning and crushed the grain that was put into the hopper. Hoppers are funnel shaped pins for filling grains into the mills. Once he understood the specific mechanism of the windmill, it was seen that he was very busy with his tools. He started making one by himself a grinding stone which is usually placed inside a windmill used for grinding flour. Here we can see the picture of a grinding stone. It was not long before his grandmother and all the neighborhood knew what Isaac had been about. He had constructed a model of the windmill, though not so large, I suppose, as one of the box traps which boys set to catch squirrels. Yet every part of the mill and its machinery was complete. Let me explain this paragraph. Soon his grandmother and the neighborhood came to know why Isaac had been busy. He had constructed, which means made, a model of the windmill that he had seen all by himself. It was smaller than the original, only the size of trap boxes which boys made to catch squirrels, but every part was intact and the set was complete. Its little sails were neatly made of linen and whirled round very swiftly when the mill was placed in a draught of air. Even a puff of wind from Isaac's mouth or from a pair of bellows was sufficient to set the sails in motion. And what was most curious, if a handful of grains of wheat were put into the little hopper, they would soon be converted into snow white flour. Here, sufficient means enough, converted means changed, whirled means moved rapidly round and round, draught means a current of cool air in a room or other confined space. In other words, draught means cold air, puff of wind means blow out air, a pair of bellows means a tool used for blowing air into fire, hoppers means funnel shaped pins for feeding grains into mills. Let me explain this paragraph. He made the sails out of linen which moved in rounds in a rapid speed when the windmill was exposed to air currents in a closed space. Even when Isaac blew a puff of air or used bellows, the sails started moving beautifully. Here, bellow is a device with an airbag that emits a stream of air when squashed together, usually used to kindle fire. Not only did the sails work perfectly, when he put a handful of grains, they were soon converted into pure white flour. The grinding stones had also been properly fixed, and the machinery he created was perfect. Isaac's playmates were enchanted with his new windmill. They thought that nothing so pretty and so wonderful had ever been seen in the whole world. Here, enchanted means delighted, pretty means beautiful. Let me explain this. Isaac's friends were charmed with his new windmill. They felt they had not seen anything more wonderful or prettier than the windmill. But Isaac said, one of them, "You have forgotten one thing that belongs to a mill." "What is that?" asked Isaac, for he supposed that from the roof of the mill to its foundation he had forgotten nothing. "Why, where is the miller?" said his friend. "That is true. I must look out for one," said Isaac, and he set himself to consider how the deficiency should be supplied. Here, consider means think about, deficiency means lack of something. Isaac thought his model was complete and perfect, but one of his friends pointed out that he had forgotten one thing that belonged to a mill. Isaac was surprised and asked what he had missed, because he was sure that from the foundation to the roof of the mill he had not forgotten any detail. His friend asked him where the miller was. Isaac agreed. He said he must search for one miller now, and thought how the shortcoming could be overcome. Now, let me read this paragraph. He might easily have made the miniature figure of a man, but then it would not have been able to move about, but perform the duties of a miller. But perhaps some two-legged millers are quite as dishonest as this small quadruped. Here, miniature means very small model, perform means do, quadruped means any animal that walks on four legs, in other words, four-legged animal. Let me explain this paragraph. He could have easily made a small figure of a man to suit his model-sized windmill, but he would have to make it move about and make it do the duties of a miller. Maybe even two-legged millers. Here, two-legged millers refers to real millers or human beings, are sometimes as dishonest as these small four-legged animals. Let me read the next paragraph. As Isaac grew older, it was found that he had far more important matters in his mind than the manufacture of toys like the little windmill. All day long, if left to himself, he was either absorbed in thought or engaged in some book of mathematics or natural philosophy. Here, absorbed means interested, engaged means keep one's attention, philosophy means the study of theories about life, knowledge, belief, etc. Let me explain this paragraph. As Isaac became older, he realized he had more important issues in his life than just making miniature toys of windmill and the miller. If he was alone throughout the day, he was in deep thought, or he deeply concentrated in some mathematics or natural philosophy book. Let me read the next paragraph. At night, I think it probably he looked up with reverential curiosity at the stars and wondered whether they were worlds like our own, and how great was their distance from the earth, and was the power that kept them in their courses. Perhaps even so early in life, Isaac Newton felt a presentiment that he should be able hereafter to answer all these questions. Here, curiosity means eagerness, reverential means respectful, presentiment means a feeling that something is going to happen. In other words, an intuitive feeling about the future. Let me explain this paragraph. During the night, he looked up the sky and thought with deep respect to the stars, wondered whether the stars were worlds like our earth. What was the distance of the stars from earth? What was the power that held them in their positions? Even in his young age, maybe, he had an intuition that he should be able to answer the questions about our universe. Let me read the next paragraph. When Isaac was 14 years old, his mother's second husband being now dead, she wished her son to leave school and assist her in managing the farm at Woolsthorpe for a year or two. Therefore, he tried to turn his attention to farming, but his mind was so bent on becoming a scholar that his mother sent him back to school and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. Here, scholar means a specialist in a specific branch of study. Let me explain this paragraph. When Isaac reached 14 years, his mother's second husband died. She could not manage the farm in Woolsthorpe all alone, so she asked Isaac to assist her. So he had to discontinue his schooling. For 1 or 2 years, she tried to make Isaac concentrate on the farm, but he was very keen on becoming a specializing in his field of study. His mother sent him back to school, then to the University of Cambridge, one of the most prestigious universities. Let me read the next paragraph. He was the first to find out the nature of light, for nobody could tell what the sunshine was composed of until then. You remember, I suppose, the story of an apple falling on his head, which led him to discover the force of gravitation and which keeps the heavenly bodies in their courses. Here, gravitation means the force that causes objects to move towards each other. Heavenly bodies means stars and planets. So, Sir Isaac Newton discovered the nature of light. Until then, nobody knew what sunshine was made of. All of us know the story of the apple falling on Newton's head, which made him discover the gravitational force which held all the heavenly bodies in the universe in its respective places. Let me read the next paragraph. When he had once got hold of this idea, he never permitted his mind to rest until he had searched out all the laws by which the planets were guided through the sky. This he did as thoroughly as if he had gone up among the stars and tracked them in their orbits. As a boy, he had found out the mechanism of a windmill, and as a man, he explained to his fellow men the mechanism of the universe. Here, tracked means follow or find something. Orbits means the carved path in space that is followed by an object going round a planet. Let me explain this paragraph. Once he had this idea, he was not able to stop thinking. He did not allow his mind to rest, and he searched all the laws governing the planets and the universe. He did a complete study as if he travelled to the stars and saw them travel in their paths. When he was young, he had discovered the techniques of a windmill. When he became older, he explained the structure of the universe. Let me read the next paragraph. While searching, he was accustomed to spend night after night in a lofty tower, gazing at the heavenly bodies through a telescope. His mind was lifted far above the things of this world. He may be said, indeed, to have spent the greater part of his life in worlds that lie thousands and millions of miles away, for where the thoughts and the heart are, there is our true existence. Here, accustomed means something to familiar with, in other words, usual or habitual. Gazing means looking steadily and intently. Lofty means very high, great height or tall. When Isaac was doing his studies, he had the habit of spending his nights in a tall tower from where he saw the activities in the sky with the help of a telescope. His thinking was far ahead than the worldly things. He seemed to have spent more time in his life in studying about worlds which were millions of miles away from us. Ordinary, daily things were of no importance to him. He seemed to have truly existed millions of miles away from us, because our true existence lies where our thoughts live. Let me read the next paragraph. Newton lived to be a very old man, renowned thinker, and was made a member of parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. But he cared little for earthly fame and honors, and felt no pride in the vastness of his knowledge. Here, renowned means famous, known or talked about. In other words, renowned means fame and respect. Knighthood means an honor given by British king that allows a man to use the title Sir. Vastness means extremely large. Let me explain this paragraph. Newton lived till his old age. He was known as a famous thinker. He became the member of the parliament and was honored with knighthood from the king. In the UK, knighthood refers to a man awarded a non-hereditary title in recognition of merit and entitled to use the honorific Sir in front of his name. He was known as Sir Isaac Newton after the knighthood was given to him by the king, but he did not care about fame or honors. nor did he feel proud of his vast knowledge. Let me read the next paragraph. All that he had learned only made him feel how little he knew in comparison to what remained to be known. I seemed to myself like a child, he observed, playing on the seashore and picking up here and there a curious shell and a pretty pebble, while the boundless ocean of truth lies undiscovered before him. Here, boundless means limitless. So, the more he learned, the more he realized how little he knew when compared to what is yet to be discovered. Isaac once told that he seemed like a child to himself. He said he was like a child playing on the seashores with shells and stones, while there was so much to discover about the endless sea in front of him. First, let me read this paragraph. At last, in 1727, when he was 85 years old, Sir Isaac Newton died, or rather he ceased to live on earth. We may be permitted to believe that he is still searching out the infinite wisdom and goodness of the Creator as earnestly and with even more success than while his spirit animated a mortal body. He has left a fame behind him which will be as endurable as if his name were written in letters of light formed by the stars upon the midnight sky. Here, earnestly means sincerely, endurable means lasting for a long time, ceased means stopped, infinite means very great and seeming to have no limit, animated means lively or active, mortal means human. Let me explain this paragraph. Sir Isaac Newton died when he was aged 85 in the year 1727. The writer says he stopped himself from living on this earth. The writer says that he believed that Isaac Newton is still living somewhere, searching for endless knowledge and the Creator of the universe. Here, Creator means the God. He says Newton is sincerely looking for knowledge in his spirit form with more success than when he was living in a body form. He has left behind huge fame for himself as if his name is written in a light formed by the stars in the dark midnight sky. Let me read this paragraph. I love to hear about mechanical contrivances such as the water clock and the little windmill, remarked George. I suppose if Sir Isaac Newton had only thought of it, he might have found out the steam engine and railroads and all the other famous inventions that have come into use since his day. Here, contrivance means a clever device or object that has been invented for a particular purpose. Let me explain this paragraph. Two characters, Mr. George and Mr. Temple, are in a discussion about Isaac. George said that he loved to hear about the clever mechanical devices that are made for specific purposes like the small windmill and the water clock. He further added that if Sir Newton had thought of steam engines and railroads, he would have found those and other famous inventions also. Let me read this paragraph. Very possibly he might, replied Mr. Temple, and no doubt a great many people would think it more useful to manufacture steam engines than to search out the system of the universe. Other great astronomers besides Newton have been endowed with mechanical genius. Here, astronomer means one who studies stars and planets scientifically. Endowed means gifted. Genius means one which is most intelligent. Now, let me explain this paragraph. Mr. Temple agreed to Mr. George. He said many great people would have thought it was more useful to invent the steam engines and railroads than to find about the universe millions of miles away from us, as they are used in our day-to-day lives. There have been many great astronomers like Newton who have been provided with great mechanical knowledge. Let me read the final paragraph. There was David Rittenhouse, an American. He made a perfect little water mill when he was only 7 or 8 years old. But this sort of ingenuity is but a mere trifle in comparison with the other talents of such men. Here, trifle means something insignificant. In other words, a thing of little value or importance. Here, talent means skill. Let me explain this paragraph. For example, there was an American named Mr. David Rittenhouse who made a small water mill when he was just 7 or 8 years old. But these type of inventions is very small compared to their talents. Now let's see the summary part. He had an amazing skill of acquiring knowledge by the simplest means. Here he refers to Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac was interested in observing a windmill close to his residence. He constructed a model of the windmill very soon. Its little sails were made of linen. Even a puff of wind from his mouth would set the sails in motion. A handful of grains of wheat would be converted into flour by the little funnel-shaped pins. Being attracted by Newton's model of the windmill, one of his friends asked where the miller was. Newton thought about the deficiency. He might have made a very small model of a man, but he wondered whether it would move about. As Newton grew older, he began to be engaged in some maths book or natural philosophy. He observed the stars keenly and wondered whether they were worlds like our own. After a year or two of being engaged in farming, he was sent back to school and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. Newton was the first to find out the nature of light and the force of gravitation. He explained to his fellow men the mechanism of the universe. He would spend night after night gazing at the sky through a telescope. He cared little for fame and honors. In 1727, where he was 85 years old, he passed away. George remarked that if Newton had only thought of mechanical devices, he might have found out the steam engine and railroads and all other famous inventions. I have enclosed the classwork instructions in the PDF. Kindly refer it. So now we have reached the end of this session. Thank you.